Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Satsang. It's beautiful to be here with you today. Weirdly enough, it was snowing this morning when I went out. Very confusing weather patterns. If I can remind everyone that Satsang is about communion with the self, the true self. And it's funny that in spirituality, when people talk about the true self or Buddha nature or God, there's a tendency for us to, on a very subtle level, without even knowing it, we turn the self into an other. In the West, in the religious traditions of the West, God is the ultimate other. But a deeper examination of the original texts, and you find that God was really a disowned self. It was a metaphor for that in you which has been completely disregarded, has been disowned, has been disassociated with. So when I call satsang non-duality and the true nature of the self, I'm not talking about some abstraction, the self out there somewhere. When people talk about their higher self, notice how our minds create a duality. When you're talking about the self, when you're talking about the truth, we think of the truth as something that I get. But the truth of me, the truth about me, must be me. The truth of me is not something about me. Anything about me is a description. And if you look at all human progress, human knowledge, even the deepest, most profound science, and I'm a fan of science, I'm not a detractor of it and the scientific method, but it's recognized by the right people in science that it is descriptive. It is not an absolute. That which is trying to be, that we are trying to describe, is really unknowable. It remains in the realm of mystery. We can see its behavior, but we don't know what it is. And so a description is not the actual thing. We simply see how it acts and try to infer its nature, what it actually is. Like a ripple on water. Right? The ripple is not the water. It is a temporary state. It's the behavior of water. And so we see the behavior of water in waves and in ripples and in temperature and all of these things. Then what is it? What is the actual thing itself? Even if you break it down to the H2O, you can continue to break that apart as well. What is the H2O? Well, it's made up of hydrogen, one atom of hydrogen and two atoms of oxygen. Well, what's the atom of oxygen? Well, you can continue to break this down. And remember, it's completely outside of what we can perceive with our senses. So we build models in the mind. Those models in the mind get fixed. What in fact is simply a concept gets regarded as an actual thing, and now we attribute to it qualities and characteristics that it doesn't actually possess, that are purely conceptual. And this is what we do for ourselves. So when I'm talking about the true self, who you really are, I am talking about you in your actual native state. I'm not talking about some attribute of you. I'm talking about the real you that exists outside of all concepts. Which is why in non-dual self-inquiry, we go beyond concepts. We have to go beyond all thinking, because thinking is all descriptive. It's describing one thing in terms of another. All emotion is all experiential, as is sensation. They're the behavior, the activity of who you are. They're not actually who you are. The mission of non-dual spiritual self-inquiry is to get to the direct experience of who you actually are, that is free of all thought, that is not engaged at all or influenced at all by a concept of you, because a concept cannot be you. It's a description of you, and it will always be an incomplete description of you. So when I do something like a meditation, and I have you notice the self-evident fact that thoughts are something that occur to you, that you are witnessing them, and the same is true of emotions, and the same is true of all sensation, and that the three of those are the only thing we ever experience. There's no such thing as an experience outside of the realm of thought, emotion, and sensation. That's it. That's all we ever experience. And looking closely, we find that thought, emotion, and sensations are simply different kind of vibratory frequencies of the same thing. Thought being faster, emotions being a little slower, sensations being even more slow. Like light waves, red is a slower vibration than violet. Right? Those are the two ends of the spectrum. But they're all light. They're all the same substance. So the vibration of thought, the vibration of emotion, and the vibration of sensation are three words. It's like red light, yellow light, and violet light. They're just three words describing a behavior of that which in its wholeness cannot be seen. It's totally invisible. It's totally unknowable. You can't see light, right? In its purest form, which is a good thing, because you wouldn't see anything if you did. Right? In between, you're looking at your computer now, and in between you and the computer, it's filled with light. But it's the invisible light, so it doesn't get in the way. Otherwise, you wouldn't see anything. Its invisibility makes everything else visible. This is the true nature of the self. What you experience, what we call thought, emotion, and sensation, is in fact the behavior, the activity of consciousness. And again, when I use that word consciousness, our minds almost immediately, and almost all of the time, think of it, form a concept of it, and make that concept something other than me. So then there's a me that has consciousness. And yet, when we really look at it, when we look closely, can there be a me without consciousness? Can you actually separate those? Conceptually, we do, and suffer as a consequence of it. But the fact of the matter is, consciousness is what you are. And everything you experience as thought, emotion, and sensation is the activity of the invisible consciousness that you are. So all thought, all emotion, all sensation, all memory, all association are all simply behaviors, activities, ripples on this ocean of being that is the self, that is yourself. And going beyond any kind of concept of self and other, that somehow consciousness is localized here in this body, recognizing that's only an experience that's being had. the body is an experience you are having, it is not what you are, then the sense of myself begins to merge with the sense of the self, until quite literally I disappear into the one. That disappearance is the Buddha. That is what is called awakening, or the full enlightenment, when that sense of I has completely disappeared. Now, it's very popular in spiritual circles to think of that as this spectacular moment of sudden awakening, and it's all vanished. Such moments do occur, but they only occur after many lifetimes of relentless, dedicated practice, wherein our focus of attention becomes more and more engaged with answering the biggest question of all, which is, who am I? And seeking with a whole heart your freedom, which means freedom from the sense of being a finite personal self, and that sense of self merging with the absolute, merging with the one, which is what you are, which is what the word Buddha means. It simply means the awakened one. The one awakens. You as an individual, me as an individual, don't awaken. We are nothing more than images on the screen being witnessed and beheld by the self. You know, at night when you have a dream, you can be in a different body, a different experience, have a different name, speak a different language. Anything can happen in the night dream. That person you are in the night dream doesn't wake up. The sleeping one wakes up from the dream, recognizing that the one that they believed themselves to be in the dream was not themselves. And the discovery or rediscovery of the one you actually are. In the night dream, it's the one that's been sleeping in the bed. But from the waking dream, you discover that it is the self. The one you think you are is not who you are, and that one never wakes up. It is woken up from. As Muji beautifully put it, he said, the one who starts the inquiry does not finish the inquiry, but is finished by the inquiry. The discovery is that you are the self. You always have been. And even an intuitive sense of that, without a full realization of that, constitutes an awakening and inspires the faith to continue, to come to satsang, to examine, to inquire, to become more and more engaged with that inquiry, to all lesser desires begin to just dissolve away. They just don't have the same kind of attractiveness anymore. This is what satsang is. Satsang is your life. It is every event in your life is inviting you into satsang. Every experience that you have. And that's why we're here. So I'm having to do this on my phone today because my computer broke, and I was concerned I wasn't going to be able to do it all. But the comments are very kind of tiny, and you're going to see me pointing over here in front of the camera, just making sure all the sound is all okay. Yeah, the background noise, there's nothing I can do about. Where I am, the furnace for the whole house is here. When I have a better setup and I have my higher quality mic, it cuts all of that out. But in this particular case, I can't. So it's going to go on a couple of times while we're in satsang. Nothing I can do about it. I know my voice is coming up across enough that you can hear me. Next week, I will be doing satsang from my new place. I'm getting an apartment next week. moving next Saturday. And I will set it all up. I'm getting the lights and stuff and everything, so I will have a place for us to meet, and it will be quiet. So, let me say hello to everyone and start into the questions. And thank you all for being here. It means a lot to me that you come and spend the time and put your trust in me. So, Dominic, dear GP, do you believe in Kundalini as I'm experiencing overwhelming energies throughout the chakras without any other explanation and don't know how to calm the energies despite so many approaches? Okay. The Kundalini represents, there's energies that are running through the body, and they're there all the time. Sometimes they get very intense. We have to understand that the ancient ideas, the very old ideas in the yogic traditions that are the Kundalini model, have been distorted and diluted by the Western mind that cannot understand their original origins. And so Kundalini has been reduced to this energy going through the body. Right? That was not the original definitions of it. Kundalini simply means coiled snake. It's a Sanskrit word and it means coiled snake. Right? And it was a mythological or metaphorical example. All the chakras are metaphors. They're not actual real things. They're aspects of consciousness. They're not a thing, an energy thing in the body. The body itself is a chakra. The first chakra is simply the energy vibration of physical objects. Like I said, that light, the different colors of light are simply different frequencies of light. Light in its wholeness is invisible. The chakras are simply different frequencies of the vibration of consciousness that have different aspects to it. The Kundalini model, which shows this energy rising from the root chakra up to the crown, is a metaphorical representation of the process of spiritual awakening. That is, that the most basic energy that we have is the energy of survival, just keeping the physical body together. The first chakra represents that. Excuse me. Just pure energy of surviving, keeping the form in a form, not letting it dissipate. Without that without that activity, the energy couldn't take a stable form. There'd be no maintaining of the form, right? The energy would just be zip, 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 zip. Your car would turn into a truck, which would turn into a tree, which would turn into a rock. So something is there. And it's a very subtle force that is just keeping the structure together, even while it is going through transformation, because that's part of the process as well. The second involves the energy of life. It is the sex organs. It is the desires. It is the juice of life. And the third represents the ego, the sense of self. The bottom three are put at the bottom because they represent the animal or instinctual nature. Right? There's no consciousness there, right? Those bottom three, to a certain extent, we share with every other critter on the planet. Certainly the first two, right? The second one, there's a little bit, or the third, there's a little bit more because there's a sense of self there that is extremely primitive in other animals. Every other animal, every sentient being has a sense of self. They are self-aware to a certain degree. The human is the most extreme in that we are actually aware of being aware. But those bottom three represent the unconscious, instinctual nature that unless something happens, to break through that, we will remain in lifetime after lifetime. This is the vasanas, this is the repository consciousness, this is karma, this is all the things that are unconscious. as that the energy of awareness hits the fourth chakra, which is the heart, an opening occurs. And it can be regarded as the birth of spiritual life. This is the real symbolic meaning of the rising of the Kundalini, or the coiled snake, which is in the in the genuine pictures of the chakras, there's always the line, but there's the coiled snake that's going around it. The snake represents resurrection. It represents rebirth. Because the snake sheds its skin, it becomes a whole new creature. And so this energy at the heart is the transformative energy, and marks that line of demarcation between the instinctual and the spiritual, the self-awareness, until it finally works all the way up to exactly what we talk about here at Satsang, which is a non-dual awakening, where you completely disappear into the one, which is represented by the 1,000-petal lotus. So I give that big, long prelude because it's extremely valuable to know. You could, if you see it in its mythological aspect, it's no longer just a bunch of energy running through the body that's out of your control. So now, let's take a step back. What I do with all of these things is you're trying to find an explanation to this, because there's this underlying belief that if I have an explanation to it, I can somehow alleviate the discomfort and the suffering that it is causing. Okay? What I'm going to ask you to do, everybody to do, is to drop any concept that you have of it. Right? So look at the experience yourself directly. You're experiencing a sense of an energy, intensity of energy. It seems to be running through the entire system. Let's not even call it chakras. Let's not call it the nervous system. Get to the pure experience of what's happening. So we don't need the word Kundalini. We don't need any explanation of it whatsoever. Notice that energy going through the body does not itself announce itself as Kundalini. It doesn't announce itself as overwhelming. It doesn't even use the word energy. It uses no words whatsoever. It is just an energy that you are aware of. So right now, put your attention on that energy and do your best to simply set aside all your ideas about it, all your ambitions for it. Notice the desire to be free of that, to not have the discomfort, of course, is there, but let that be there as well. But don't engage with it on any intellectual level. Even the desire to not have it anymore, to be free of it. Notice it's there, but don't engage with that. And just let yourself be present. Let yourself become more and more present. Simply with the direct experience itself, without any conceptualization. You don't even need to call it the chakras, nothing. Not even energy. Notice, you don't need any words to have the experience. So all words are secondary. All concepts are secondary. All explanations are secondary. We don't need imagination. We don't need conceptualization. Because what we're doing is simply being directly present. Even letting go of the desire for it to be different than it is. And now just notice that energy is there, and so are you. Notice that energy can't be there without you. It is completely dependent upon you. Separate from you, it has no existence. It doesn't hide in your closet. It's not waiting in the car. It's not outside knocking on the door. It does not act, it cannot exist without you. But notice that you can, that you were there before this arose, you're watching it, and also notice how it fluctuates. I'm sure sometimes it seems more intense than others. Notice that it is in motion, and you are not. And let your sense of self, your sense of inquiry, abide there. Just sink into that place from which it is being seen. Is that place overwhelmed? Is that a vibrating, intense energy? Or is it very still? The witness of an intense energy is not subject to the intense energy. It is simply the witness of it. Think of it like the sky, and there's a storm moving through. The storm can be very violent and intense, and thunder and lightning and tornadoes and all sorts of things. But then it just passes away. And what's left is simply the sky. Has the sky been touched by it? Has it been changed by it at all? Now just notice that just being willing to be present with it, pushing aside the mind's desire to get away from it, notice the effect that it has on it. Because 99% of the suffering in it is coming from the mind's resistance to it. Now, I'm not denying that the feelings can be intense. They can. But we just want to be present with them without adding anything extra on, which the mind does, because that's where all the suffering comes from. So, in doing that, have you noticed how there's a relief? Because the suffering was not in the energy, whatever you want to call it. It was in our reaction to it. An energy arises. What is the response to it? It is simply an energy arising. It has no inherent meaning. It has no inherent self. It has no inherent existence. It cannot be without you. Does that help, Dominique? Anybody else who wants to comment on that? It's a full house here today. Maybe you hear the cat crying, you hear the baby crying, and people walking around upstairs. I am looking forward to having my own quiet space very soon. Where I can create my own atmosphere. Me. Rosario, hello to you. Madrid, hello, Johanna. It would be really interesting to hear a shortened version of your own path to awakening. Well, my path to awakening is an ongoing one. I don't consider myself to have experienced the full ultimate Buddha awakening. What I can say is this, that at a certain point in my life, which started when I was 19, at a time I was very desperate and hated myself and everything else, and really wanted to die, without any kind of seeking on my part. I had a deep and profound spiritual experience that revealed essentially what I have come to be teaching now, and that is that all of the activity of conditioning in the body and mind and all of that is not the same as you. That you are something else, and that something else was infinitely pure, had never been touched by any of the conditioning, any of the pollutants, any of the sin, any of the things we've done, any things that have been done to you. The essential, what I call original innocence, has remained completely untouched. And and will remain untouched forever. It cannot be touched. Like, and it is like the sky. Things pass through the sky, but the sky itself remains untouched. That was the beginning of it, which saved me from myself, saved me from many, many different things. But I kind of thought it was over at that point. Oh, I got it. Now, this is it. I had no idea the depth to which conditioning goes. I had no idea the depths that karma went. I had no idea the depths to which what are called the vasanas, or in Buddhism it's called the repository consciousness. I had no idea exactly how deep they went. Because while I saw this separation, that I was that originally innocent, there was still a sense of an I, a me, that was innocent. Right? There was still a two. There was still a duality that was subtler. Right? And so I wandered through very many, all sorts of different practices and traditions and teachings, metaphysics and new thought, and then into psychology, Gestalt, experiential stuff, before I finally stumbled upon I Am That by Nisargadatta, which just blew my mind. To actually see it laid down in plain words, because I grew up in the Midwest, so it was all the Bible. So even after I had a spiritual awakening, I studied the Bible. I learned of it as mythological, right, as many have heard me explain. Matter of fact, I see it all as mythological, which I was just talking about the chakras as a metaphor, as mythological, and not as an actual physical thing. Well, the same thing was true of all the biblical stories, which I eventually learned almost none of them actually happened. None of them are history. None of them were real events. They're all mythological. They're legendary. But seeing them as such, I grasped the deeper language that they were trying to speak. When I discovered Advaita Vedanta many years later, I realized that in the Indian tradition of Advaita Vedanta, that they're not burying it in metaphors and parables and stories and myths. They're just saying it. It blew my mind. I went, where the hell have you been? Why did I have to go all this? Why didn't I just get to this? But it's kind of part of the path that we have to follow. And eventually, in that whole period of time, there was a sense still of being a separate self. There was a sense of there being some kind of ultimate truth, right, that would be known. Right? So there was still that sense of separation. There was me, and then the truth was something I would know. Right? Although there were times I had these huge glimpses, and it all disappeared, and there was nothing but the self. But that the separate self, the sense of being a person, reasserted itself. Confused the hell out of me when it happened, but now I understand it. Now I'm very patient with it, and it took a long time to truly to grasp what was happening. And again, the depths of the vasanas, those very, very subtle seeds that are in consciousness that actually give rise to every single lifetime. They're not merely psychological. They're not the conditioning of a single life. They're much deeper than that. But anyway, after studying and practicing Zen meditation and koans and the like, I finally had an experience where I saw through all that, where I saw that I was that the truth was what I was. It was not something that gained or known, and that I could not possibly ever define myself. And so I went from being in that stuck place of being somebody trying to find the truth to being the truth itself, that had no particular form but could take any form, which is the essence of Zen. And in that moment, everything changed for good. At that moment, wisdom became available. I could teach like I teach now, because I was no longer stuck anywhere. There was no more sense of having a particular point of view or a posture or a position. They were all gone. Everything became relative except the self, which was the absolute. And it's simply been developing ever since. And I take on various techniques. As a result of that, and Buddhism, I learned how to teach. I learned the way to speak to people at the level they happen to be at, to help them, nudge them towards the ultimate, which are all just the skillful means. And not everybody gets those. Not everybody has to. Not everybody has to. But it's the skillful means that Buddha himself referred to. So it's just developed. The vasanas, those very subtle seeds, still arise in me. So I don't claim anything other than I, I know with a deep conviction that I am the self, and that so are you. Right? Even sometimes when my mind will get clouded, I recognize that the mind is clouded, right? And I just have to be with it, just like I was asking Dominic earlier, to just be with it, right? It doesn't actually affect me. And how long will that go on until finally there's that final, the final dissolution, the final entering into nirvana? I have no idea. And I've lost all of the desire to like get somewhere, make something happen. It's got to be, um, and just being present in this moment um, as the self. And it becomes almost a mantra. I am that self. I am the Shiva being. It is not something I'm going to become. Even when your mind is completely contradicting you and saying, no, this can't be, look, this is what you are. It doesn't matter. The truth is the truth. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It doesn't matter if anybody believes it or not. And your mind won't. Your mind's never going to be convinced. What we're discovering is what you actually are and always have been. And little by little, as you simply keep reminding yourself of that and abiding there and letting go of trying to fix or change or make any of this different, the energy that sustains the conditioning, that is the false sense of self, is drained, it dissipates, and it becomes less and less. You become more harmonious, you become more patient, you become more kind and compassionate, you become more measured, you become more wise, and little by little that digs deeper and deeper until it finally uproots and burns the seeds of birth and death, and then you are eternally free. So I think that's probably the best answer I can give. I don't know how short it was. So let's see. Hello, Robbie in Romania. There's Ursula. There's Ava in Poland. David and Elaine. Good to see you guys. Hariom J.A. Lisa. There's Mary. I am you. Much love to you. Oh, thank you. From Naomi. Naomi. Crispin. Hey there, buddy. It's Andy B. Everyone. So you see my finger. I'm sorry. It's just I'm working on the phone and this. I hate working on the phone. I really do. My computer broke. I even canceled sessions because I just can't work on the phone. But I didn't want to cancel again because I've done that several times over the last week. GP, connecting to the witness. This is Carl. Connecting to the witness true self has been all I ever wanted and is an amazing experience. Yet in the physical world, it made me lose friends, interests, and even my cliffhanger. Where did you go, Carl? Oh, even my personality seems to be something I don't know what to do with anymore. How is it that I can now feel more connected to the whole and have such peace and yet feel more lonely and separated in life? I feel like I've been on a carrot on a stick trip. Yeah. Allow, just allow the peace, that stillness, to be your companion. Go back to it. Be grateful for it. Spend time with it. Right? We don't know how long it's going to take for the whole transformation of the entire human system to take place. I know it will, and I know that one of the key temptations we get is that the conditioning wants to reassert itself, and it wants to pull you back into identification with the person. Right? If you do, you re-empower it, right? And so it will present things like that. Well, I'm lonely, right? So okay, put the thought I'm lonely aside, or I feel loneliness, and just be with the feeling itself. And go, this is what loneliness feels like. Am I lonely? Or is this just a feeling running through the system? Yes, the human body wants, even needs, the presence of other human bodies. Okay, that is something that's there. That's a natural desire. Right in this moment, I cannot fulfill that natural desire, but it isn't going to kill me. It's just uncomfortable. Now, I, the one that is aware of that desire, am I lonely? Is the self lonely? Can the self want anything other than itself? Can the one be lonely? For what? You have to create an other. Yes, you have to create an other that feels separated. So now notice that separation is a feeling, isn't it? Now, is it the reality? See, we've been convinced that that feeling of separation means I am separate and somehow I've got to get back to oneness. The truth is, you've never left the oneness, and the feeling of separation is just a feeling. So take mind out of it. Put aside all your ideas about it. Just notice, yes, there's a feeling there. There's a desire there, right, for companionship or intimacy or closeness or friends or whatever it might be. The mind has been cut off. The conditioning has been cut off from its normal source of distraction, and therefore it's feeling uncomfortable. Stay with the self, stay with the peace, and it will permeate that same conditioning, dissolve its dependencies, and reorganize it around this peace. This is the process by which awakening becomes total. The awakening that is the insight, and for you it appears even it's moved from insight into feeling. There's a feeling of peace. You can feel the truth of this. It's only a matter of time, if you stay with it, that it will move from feeling into living. It will take over the entire human system, and you will find yourself as the living embodiment of the truth. In fact, it won't even be the living embodiment of the truth. You will be the truth, and the world, the universe, will be your embodiment. Does that help? Does that help, Carl? Don't let the mind try to trick you into re-identifying with the person. You say, oh, lonely. What is this? What is this? What is this whole non-dual thing? Look, yeah, we got this peace, but man, I'm lonely. I want some friends. I want to hang out. Right? And it'll say, is this all you get? This is heavenly? What? This is the bliss they talk about? This is crazy. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. It's simply an invitation to fall back into the old conditioned patterns. Right? Be wiser than serpents and harmless as doves, and be vigilant. Right? Be vigilant. There it is again. Right? It is inviting me to think that somehow something is missing from me. And it's even presenting an image of me to me that is of this lonely, separate individual that needs a bunch of stuff. Who's looking at that image? Can that image survive on its own? Does it have its own life? Is it sentient? Is it self-aware? Does that I am lonely thought actually have a conscious being saying it, or is it just a thought? As if, Siri said, I'm lonely. You'd know there's nobody there. Siri, you don't exist. But that which is aware of that thought, that does exist, is that. That is you. Because it is obviously you that is aware of that thought. So are you, the you that is aware, not the I that appears, is that lonely? Is that separate? Separate from what? All thought, all emotion, all sensation are the activity of consciousness. There is no separation. The thoughts and feelings cannot exist separate from you, but they are not something outside coming to you. They are not in a repository called an unconscious and appearing to you. They are made of you. They exist because you exist. They are you. All sensation, emotion, and thought are you. That means everything you see, touch, feel, smell, taste is you, because it is simply the vibration of the fundamental field, this fundamental medium that is pure awareness. You cannot be separated from the whole. The universe is your embodiment. You are truly one with everything. Just follow that peace. It will lead you to nirvana. Thank you, Carl. Okay, let's see. Hello, Tatiana. I'm sorry about the noise. It's quiet now. It may start again. It's very loud. It's very loud, but unfortunately with this mic set up and my broken computer and all, there's nothing I can do about it. So, so just kind of turn on the special filters and filter it all out except me. And yes, it was never like that before. Hello, Brent. Brother G, I've been pondering your response to my question last week. Could you please speak more on how the apparent between you and I collapses into the one? Much love. Yes. Every experience that you have right now, you're looking at this computer. It's my picture going on it and the like. Maybe you're just listening in the headphones, but you're seeing something, right? Now, really examine what you're looking at, any object you want to pick, right? And look at your experience of it. Now, the first thing you can notice is that even from a neurological or physiological point of view, we don't see an object over there. That is meaning and attributes that are projected onto it, because what we see is right here. We see the light here. We do not see light over there. Right? So everything you are seeing is right here. You can look out and see a star that's 5 billion light years away, right? But you see it here. Touch, taste, smell, everything is experienced here. Now, we assume that the source of this experience is something out there. Right? Now, it's the same in dreaming at night. We have experiences with people, we're interacting with them out there. And all your senses are engaged. You hear sound, you see, you touch, you taste, you smell. There's all the entire range of sensations are all present. They're all being experienced. In the dream, it feels as if you are interacting with an other. But the falsity of that position immediately appears upon waking. Oh, there was no other there. I was playing all the parts. I wasn't speaking to my friend. It was an image in my mind of my friend, but that was all in my mind. I was doing the speaking. Right? The only difference between the sleeping dream at night and the waking dream during the day is continuity. The, the, our waking dream picks up where we left off. The night dream just kind of goes wherever it wants to. It doesn't have the same laws of physics, you might say. So looking at any object you want to pick and look at it, going back the way you came, going out of all the concepts of it. It's a concept that it is an other, that there's something out there that you are experiencing through this intricate process of perception. Is there anything in the experience itself that tells you that? If you're looking at a cup or your computer or your foot, is there anything in the actual experience itself that announces itself, I am a cup, I am for tea or mate or coffee, and I exist separate from you? Does any of that appear in the actual experience? Or is that all an interpretation of experience that takes place within the mind? Now, it can be a bit of a stretch, because what about another person that I'm talking to? Well, your night dream, you talk to people all the time, have experiences with those people, feel those people physically touching you. There's nobody there. Now, I'm not saying there's nothing there, right? I'm saying that the nature of experience is such that it is a completely subjective experience. I have this range of experience, thought, emotion, and sensation, which is all it is. I can see them as being, I'm a body, and there are senses that perceive an outside world. If you examine that closely, you will see not only is it insubstantiated, it can't be. It is an assumption. It is a presumption that has not been scrutinized except in non-dual inquiry. It is the basis of our modern world. There's a world out there, and I'm studying it. If you recognize that thought, emotion, and sensation, which is all there is to all experience, is a self-modulating vibration of the self, the world disappears. There is no world. It is a concept projected upon the self. And so you are looking at you. You look at me, and you have a private inner experience, right? A subjective inner experience, sentience. That's what it's called, sentience or consciousness. I am self-aware. I'm aware of having an experience. Now, you don't know of anybody else's experience, just like in a dream you don't know that. You don't know what I'm experiencing. Fact of the matter is, you don't even know if I even exist. Not really. We assume that, right? But you project upon your experience your sense of being sentient, of having this private, intimate, inner experience of existing. which is the nature of cognition, the nature of consciousness, that which cognizes everything else. What we're doing in this inquiry is breaking down the assumptions we have about that experience. And when it's thoroughly broken down, you see that there is nothing but myself. And I am the self. Now, this isn't the person, the thought of I, the sense of I that is identified with the body and being a person. Eliminate that, inquire into that, and it will disappear because it has no foundation in reality. And what will appear is that it is all you. It is all the self. And I'm making that distinction. I'm calling it the self, not because it isn't you, but because we need that distinction as we are dismantling, deconstructing the concept of myself. Because there can be a tendency to, oh, it's all the self, I am that self. And it's a beautiful thing for the ego to appropriate. Oh, I'm the self, and pat itself on the back. The ego disappears in this. The ego is burnt up by it. There is no Brent French. There is no GP. These are names and forms projected by the self onto the self. And so it all collapses into one. But don't try to make that happen. Keep coming back to being aware of being aware. This is where it starts. Everything is appearing to me. Right? Everything that appears to me, every thought, emotion, and sensation, every experience appears to me. Anything that I can perceive cannot be me, which means thought, which I perceive, cannot be me. It cannot describe me. I am completely separate from that. I am something else altogether. Or rather, I am the ground upon which all of these things can be. They are my activity. They are the behavior of the self, including the projection of a world upon the self. And the more you do that, the more this sense of there being something that exists other than this vibration of consciousness will fade until the world is seen to be an illusion. There is something there that we're projecting the existence of an independently existing world upon. Right? Just like you're in the desert, you're thirsty, it's hot, and you see a mirage in the distance, and there's all sorts of people in bathing suits having a good time, spraying each other with water and drinking Mai Tais. Right? Well, the desert is there. The sun is there. The heat is there. The sweat is there. The thirst is there. The fatigue is there. The waves, the heat waves rising from the sand that distort the air are all there. The mirage is not. Right? So what is here? There goes the sound again. Sorry, folks. It's going to get louder in a second. What's actually here that this illusion is projected upon? The self. It's you projecting this upon yourself. And hence the illusion of an independently existing world comes into existence. It's the snake in the rope. And therefore everything out there is not me. I am the body. This is the essence of it. You're not the body. You are the self. That which is out there isn't out there at all. It is in you. Everything that appears to be out there, that's the illusion. It isn't out there. Any more than the dream you have at night is out there. It isn't. It's all within you. But when I think of me as the body, in me, within my conscious, within my brain, no. The brain is within you. You are not bound by the body. It's getting clearer, right? It's the thing to ponder, because the mind is conditioned to to the reference point of externally existing objects, realities, and that the qualities of those realities are inherent in that object, that I am somehow perceiving. They're not. Nothing has a self. There is no self. Everything that you perceive is yourself. All the qualities are you. This is to be pondered and contemplated deeply. This is the essence of the Ribhu Gita, which I highly recommend for anyone who's ready for it. If you get it and you read it and it doesn't make any sense, don't worry, you're just not ready for it yet. Ribhu, R-I-B-H-U, Gita. If you contact me, I'll give you the link, because there's a variety of translations, but there's one in particular that I really like. So, thank you, Brent. Thank you very much. Hopefully that helped. Hello, Dale. Hello, Marty in Vancouver, Washington. It's Ava. The sound is back. And when the actual burner kicks on to do the heat, oh boy. Gets loud. Anyway, hi GP and everyone. Just started it today, but loving your From Delusion to Awakening course already. Totally a win-win transaction. My favorite kind of capitalism. I'm really glad. By the way, because my computer broke and I really haven't been able to do any work online. If anyone wants to, still get it for $100, you still can, because I can't get rid of the. I can't get on to eliminate take the coupon offline. So just go to I think you can go to omschool.com, omschool.co, and it'll take you to the directory, and you can find it, and just put in that. Let's see if I can make a banner while I'm here. Let's see. I can change this one. Edit. This one. Edit. Oh, I don't know what to do. Or get in touch with me. I'll try to get out an email. So it's still available, and it is. The course I've done it as a live event, a live retreat. I've done it as online retreats, and I did this as an intensive. And it is the whole process of awakening. And some have criticized me. It's not a process. Of course, it's not. Everything is a concession, but I wish somebody would concede it to me as times. Just break it down so you know that you are actually on the path. So, anyway, thanks, Merck. Glad you're liking it. Hello, Kimberly. Oh, listening from work. Love it. John in Scotland. Hello, Tian. Hi, GP. I can know myself as consciousness intellectually, but in daily life I have to live as a finite person, doing the best I can in life to at least survive and succeed. Can you comment on that? Yeah. There's no real, genuine conflict between our non-dual insight into our true nature and our everyday life. Let go of the idea that somehow there's this separation, that there's my inner spiritual life, and then there's this other stuff that I have to deal with. Let your daily life be your practice. Let that be the way in which you deepen the sense of being the self, and bring everything into that great heart of compassion. In the Ribhu Gita, it refers to Shiva. It's written to Shiva, in salutations to and in worship of Shiva. But then it defines Shiva, not as some being up there doing stuff, but as pure awareness in the sky of consciousness in the heart. Drop the idea that you only know yourself as consciousness intellectually. Right now, if I ask you, do you exist? You'll say yes. And I'll say, are you aware that you exist? Are you conscious of your existence? You'll say, yes. Okay. And I'll say, is that intellectual? Are you just thinking, I think I'm conscious? Or do you know? So now, the mind wants to make you something other than consciousness. It wants to make you into a body in which consciousness is somehow inhabiting. Don't buy it. You are that consciousness. The mind says, well, you get it intellectually. Right? You go, no, I don't. Yeah. Do I have the full Buddha level understanding? No. But believe me, if it was just intellectual, you wouldn't keep showing up to satsang to deepen this. There's something much deeper at work, pulling you back, pulling you home, pulling you in. Now, it is everybody's need, and everybody has the experience of having these kinds of insights, this kind of direct access, and then going back, or maybe it's on a retreat or in satsang like this, and then all of a sudden it's Monday morning and I'm back, right? And I'm back into this world, and there's people, and I don't like these people, and I'm reacting, and I'm yelling at my kids. But this is where the rubber meets the road. This is the Zen of life. This is the practice. This is off the cushion and into life. Right? This is your teacher. Right? To be constantly reminding yourself that even though I am completely engaged in worldly activities, I am pure consciousness. That what I'm experiencing is the activity of consciousness. That's all that it is. And I am not a character struggling in this activity. I'm the consciousness that is aware of that. And you keep bringing it back there. Just keep bringing it back. Just noticing that I am aware of this. Who is it that's aware of this? That daily life, all the activities, doing the best I can, trying to survive. These are all activities, these are all thoughts, emotions, and sensations, right? Who is aware of those? If you keep doing that, go, okay, all of this stuff that's appearing, this my daily life, the finite person that's struggling, trying to survive, all of those things are appearances. They come and go, their thoughts, their feelings, their sensations. To whom are they appearing? And you bring your attention back to that place, because none of these things could appear if you weren't here first. So you are something deeper than merely this activity. The ocean is more than just the waves. The waves are the ocean, but it's not all there is to the ocean. Every song is music, but no song is the totality of music. Every experience in your life is your life, but it is not the totality of the life that is you. And so drop this idea that I only know it intellectually, right? Because it's not really true. And then, rather than wishing that you would somehow get out of daily life, completely immerse yourself into it, but keep the sense of being the self. Who is it that is engaged in this life? Right? There's no finite person engaged in your life. It's always the self. Right? Consciousness is the self. It requires consciousness to be engaged in your daily life, even the struggles to survive. So who's aware of the struggles to survive? The self is. The self is living this life. If I sit down to meditate, am I somebody trying to meditate to become a Buddha. No, I am the Buddha meditating. I am that self. Take that into your everyday life. This is what is referred to as the Jiva Mukti. It is the one who is aware of being the self and yet is engaged in everyday life. Raising a family, being in relationships, having a job or a career or a business, doing what needs to be done. I mean, I do. I really, I had to put everything together to release that program, put a price on it, make the coupons, put it up there, do emails and all that. I don't have a staff of people working for me, but if I did, that would simply be an extension of it. This is just engaging in daily life, which is what happens, and recognize that it is just happen. The sage does. Imuji has meetings with his, the various groups, people who work on the property, people in the kitchen, people are doing AV. All of it has meetings with it. He has meetings with financial people because he's got money coming in, donations, and he sells stuff and all sorts of that. So all of this is happening, right? Even for the awakened being, to whom is it happening? We're not trying to escape from daily life. We're trying to remove from daily life the sense that it's a person doing it, because that's where the burden is. That is the burden. I'm just this finite person trying to do my best. That is a concept. Don't believe it. Don't identify as that finite person trying to do your best, and be the self, the infinite self, having this experience of daily life and relishing in it as it becomes increasingly free from suffering. How's that, Tian? Thank you, dear. You're welcome, Dominic. Thank you. Answer to Dominic. Oh, very great answer. Thank you. Hendrik from south of Germany. You're always at the perfect place. Here I am, yes, in my perfect place with the noisy furnace. It's downstairs. Upstairs, it's quiet. It's just beautiful, right? I'm down here in the playroom. I'm basically sleeping in my granddaughter's playroom, the family room with all the toys and the screen and the big screen TV and toys everywhere. Brent, thank you for telling your story, G. You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Hello, Mohammed. Many, many, many to you. There's Barbara in Sweden. Faith. Hello. So good to see you. So good to see you, Faith. There's Gunnar. Namaste to you. There's King Dale Clark. Elaine. Beautiful, lovely ones. Faith. I am stuck. I come to the end of the rope. I surrender and surrender. However, that one desire to leave here is in me. I am trying different ways without success, and it makes me miserable. My dilemma is that I see that the actions outside are not the thing that will create that goal. People around me keep telling me I keep trying and apply millions of times to get what I want. My dilemma is that I see that the actions outside are not the thing. Oh, okay. Millions of times. Thinking about that, I have to do a lot makes me feel exhausted. And also, I don't buy the idea that actions outside bring the result. I'm so tired, exhausted, lost, depressed, etc. Okay. All right, my dear girl. It's okay. It's okay. First off, just stop and breathe for a second. Just stop and breathe. And perhaps if you just are quiet for a moment, you can just feel the enormous love and support of everyone here. This is your Sangha. This is your family. There is no requirement for you to have to surrender the desire. That is to let go of the desire as if it didn't matter. It is a recognition of life as it actually is. Shift my foot here a second. Make sure I'm still connected. Yeah. Okay. Desires arise in life. I have desires. They arise all the time. Right? a desire to get a new apartment, a desire to go to Europe, or that desire to go to Mexico. Desires arise. They are a part of life. To surrender them doesn't mean we get rid of them. Right? It doesn't mean we have to let them go. It doesn't mean we have to not feel them. They can even be very, very intense. We have to impersonalize them. We have to see them that your happiness does not depend upon whether a desire happens or not. If you associate my sense of well-being and happiness with the fulfillment of any desire, you have created a scenario in which you have cut yourself off from happiness. You have cut yourself off from happiness. Well, you haven't. The belief that I need this in order to be happy has cut off this your experience of well-being, and turn this desire into something that it isn't. It is not a fulfillment of yourself. It is simply a desire that arises in life that has its own fulfillment, but it serves no other purpose than to fulfill that desire. Now, your desire is to live elsewhere, to leave where you are and go somewhere where it is more free. Right? Let's start by going somewhere internally where you are more free, where you are free from this dependency. And I recognize I've been there. I've been in places. Oh my God! I remember when I was. I mean, I'm even after the awakening experience. I went through 10 years of hell. There was all sorts of karma and stuff that had to be burned up. There was so much I had to experience to get to finally understand what I've come to understand. Shortly after, a year or two after that experience had happened, there was just a series of decisions I made, a series of things I did that just completely changed my life, cut me off from everything that I wanted to do and accomplish, set me into a path of complete deprivation with no total responsibility and no love. And that it persisted. I had no money. I couldn't make a success of anything. It was a living hell. And it lasted 8, 10 years before it finally started to turn around. I mean, I just couldn't believe, why did he keep persisting? And I just kept, and I kept going back. And like you and like many people, what am I doing wrong? I kept blaming myself. But through the entire process, what I can see now is that the old vasanas, the deep-seated conditioning that are not just of this life, many were of this life, many were not, had to be expunged, and this is the only way it could have happened. If I had gained the kind of success and notoriety that I had wanted, and I thought that this was going to come, I would not be sitting here talking to you all now. And those things would be very, very active, and I'd probably have several more lifetimes before I could sit and talk to you like this. I remember George Harrison, who became a Hare Krishna, not the kind that, shaves your head and panhandles at the airport, but a sincere spiritual aspirant, talking about his own life, which was cut short. He got very, very ill, and he died in his late 50s, I think. He said, look, whatever I have to experience in order to remove from me the remnants of this karma, I'll take it. And he meant it. He was utterly sincere about it. And his life collapsed. I mean, he didn't have because he didn't write as much as Lennon and McCartney. He didn't have as much money as they did, and it was getting down there. I mean, getting down there, not compared to what you and I would think, right? But he couldn't be really foolhardy. Just spend on whatever he felt like doing. He engaged himself in He did all the landscaping on his land, all by himself. Planted everything, built everything. And he got very, very ill, and he accepted it as the answer to his prayer. I'm reminded of a beautiful story of Rama and the frog. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Rama, he's a Hindu avatar. An avatar is God. God is God incarnate, right? Like Krishna, and avatars are God appears in human form. And Rama is, I think, one of the oldest. Like you hear people, Ramakrishna, they named after him, that sort of stuff. So he was, his story. It's a mythological story, as is Krishna, but it's illustrative of this God man, who is infinite power yet appears as a human being. So at any rate, this is very, very old, going back. He was a man of the forest, bow and arrow, and that sort of thing, and ended up being king. That's the story of it. So one day he's out in the forest. He's hunting. He's doing his God man thing, and he stops to rest. Gets off his horse. He stops to rest somewhere by a pond. He sets down his bow, his quiver, sets down his arrows, and sits down to refresh himself, get some water, lays back and rests. Well, time comes, he's all rested, he gets up to go. As he's picking everything up again, putting it back on, he picks up an arrow and he notices on the head of the arrow, there's some blood. And so he brushes away the leaves and stuff, and there, laying on the ground with a severe gash in his head, is a little frog. And he picks the frog up. He says, "Little frog, why didn't you call out to me in your distress?" And the frog says, "Lord, I always call out to you in my distress. But when you create my distress, to whom do I call out? I accept it as your will." Beautiful story of a genuine surrender to life. You take that desire, you don't push it aside, you don't try to disown it, but you truly surrender. I really want this. And you've proven how you want it by going through all the steps over and over and over again. Maybe just take a break from all of that and just really surrender it, right? And recognize that your well-being is not tied to that. What it will give you is a new place to live where you will have more cultural freedom than you do now. It will not be the key to happiness. It will not be the key to your well-being. Be that little frog. When you create this distress, to whom do I call out? I accept it as your will. That is such a powerful prayer. It is such a powerful humbling of the heart. The ego can't do that. That's why it's still deeply spiritual, right? The ego cannot surrender like that. The ego always has conditions. It's always a business deal. I'll surrender as long as I get what I want, as long as I get back. I'll worship you, God, just here. Here's my list, right? I'll be good. I'll be naughty. I'll be nice, not naughty. But here's my Christmas list. Not that you're doing that. I know you're not. I'm speaking more in general terms. I know how humble and sincere you are. But I also know how easy it is for this thing to catch us, right? We begin to think the only thing that matters is that I am free from this condition. That's how I felt. Little by little, I began to surrender to it. I began to surrender some of the qualities in me that were in the way of it, that were literally pushing it away. And as I did, things began to improve. They began to change. Not at first. At first, I began to surrender. Even worse things happened. I got accused of stealing. I got investigated. There's all sorts of things that happened, right? And I had to choose to stay with them. And the end result was that stuff, those vasanas, that conditioning became less and less, and opened the door to what I do now. So, oh, my dear, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You are so loved. Just feel all the love that everyone has here for you. And everyone here would do anything they could to help you. Use this hand. So, thank you, GP, says Ida. Loud and clear. Brent, profound response, G. You're welcome. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, thank you. Thank you from Tian. Very good. Love you, Kimberly, and this space. Love you too. Melissa, thank you for being here, G, and everyone. I'm good. Francesco Roncalli. Hi, Francesca. Hi, GP, I'm very touched by your insights. One thing that I would like to ask you is about that I have been in states of deep silence, but still get lost sometimes in emotion and thoughts. Can you help? Yeah, I can. I want you to notice something, that emotions and thoughts come up, right? Look, as long as you have a human life, they're going to come up. It's look, sensation, thought, and emotion are all there is to human life, right? If thoughts and emotions didn't happen, there'd be no human life. They are going to be there. The question is, what are they? Can we absorb them back into the self? Or do we see them as an enemy that we have to fight? If I see them as an enemy that I have to fight, I've created a separation. I'm now doing battle with them, and I created them. I created the conflict out of ignorance. Right? So, in the state of silence, when a thought comes up, is the silence broken? Or is that feeling, that emotion, or that thought appearing in the silence? And which are you? The thought and emotion that comes up, or the silence that beholds it? You walk through a shopping mall and they're playing your favorite song, right? And you can barely make it out, right? I think that's it. No, yeah, that's it. Why? Because there's so much noise around it, you can't hear it. So when something comes up like that, it can only be seen when it's against the background of silence. Silence is not something that comes and goes. Can you split silence in two? Can you take a knife and cut it? This silence, or is it a whole? Is it an indivisible, irreducible whole? Which means silence is always there. Now, who are you? Who is this I that's been in the state of deep silence? It's very subtle, but this is where non-dual inquiry and its pointers become so profound. Who is the I that is in the state of silence? If deep silence is a state, it means it comes and goes. All states come and go. Everything that comes and goes has a beginning and an end. If it has a beginning and an end, it cannot be the truth. The truth is not something that can begin and end. So who's the I that has the deep sense of silence, the deep state of silence? Or is that I just a thought appearing to the reality of changeless silence, the truth of silence? That is, silence as the self, the true I. And there's a thought that says there's an I that's going in and out of that state, and that this I gets lost in thoughts and emotions. And we without knowing it, find ourselves identifying with the I that's getting lost, that's coming and going. Right? Right? If it comes and goes, it can't be the truth. And you're not always identified with it, are you? So that I, that sense of I, is also coming and going. So that's not you. You watch it come, you watch it dance, you watch it leave. So that can't be you. The state of awakening, awakening is not a state. It is not something that comes and goes. And one of the subtler mistakes that aspirants make is thinking that somehow awakening is a state that is attained. Like some specialized experience that's brought on through, tense meditation or pranayama or plant medicine. Right? All of those are states that come and go. They can be useful, but they are not the self. They are not you, because they come and go. And if you watch them come and you watch them dance and you watch them go, you essentially can't be coming and going. When they go, you don't go with them. If you came and go, you'd go, and there'd be oblivion. But there isn't. The sense of presence, the sense of being, the sense of existing is unchanging. It never fluctuates. Notice, it's not a vibration. It's not a state. It's the self, which can never, ever come and go. It never came, and it'll never go. It just is, timeless, dimensionless. So when you find yourself experiencing the silence, when you're more aware of the silence, instead of thinking of an I that is experiencing silence, go, this is myself. This is not an experience. This is the true I. And bring the sense of I back home, back to its source, which is that silence, that stillness, that pure presence, that isness, that what is. And you will soon find yourself stabilized there. You'll find yourself abiding there. And you'll no longer be tricked when the mind tries to present to you the notion that there is somebody getting silence. It's very subtle. It's very subtle. Somebody who is going to get enlightened. Somebody who is going to become a Buddha. This is all the very subtle energy of the seeker. And the seeker needs to be there for a moment. But there comes a time when to see that even the seeking is being witnessed by that which is sought, which is forever, which is timeless, spaceless, and forever present. Thank you, Francesco. I hope that helped. Anja, thank you for your answer to Kundalini energy sensations. It brought calm. I very often I am get overwhelmed, right? Very often there is a thought that says I am overwhelmed. If you didn't pay any attention to that thought, right? If you gave it no credence, would you be overwhelmed? Isn't that an interpretation of experience? The experience doesn't come and say, I'm overwhelming you. It's just an experience. And then the mind goes, oh, it's overwhelmed, which means I want to get away, I want to get away, I want to get away. I don't want to feel that. Okay? Am I overwhelmed? Or is there just the thought that says I'm overwhelmed? If I was really overwhelmed, I'd be crushed. But the feeling is there. And yeah, it's intense, but it hasn't killed me. I'm obviously not overwhelmed. Right? So this thought, I am overwhelmed, if it never occurred to you, right? This is the subtleness, the subtlety of, we're so conditioned to identify with the thought I. And the thought I has got all the problems, all the difficulties, all of the resistance, all of the stuff. Thank you, Anja. I hope that helps. Well, that helps everybody because it's very subtle and we all get caught. Gee, I'm also very happy to get this From Delusion to Awakening. I'm listening to it, and my experience is that now some puzzles are filling up the remaining blank gaps in the puzzle picture. Thank you for your generosity. You're very welcome. Very welcome. Yes, that's what I designed it to be. I created that because I became aware in my own life. um, there was very little in the way of preparation. Um, you know, growing up a kid in the Midwest in Illinois, it's not like I grew up in India where if you have an experience like that, they know exactly what to do. Off you go, down to the local Swami or the local sage. Um, it's like, oh, okay, right, okay, oh yeah, we know exactly what this is, and there are people to guide you through the entire process. Not so where I was. It was, very Christian, very orthodox, some evangelical, um, and so what do I do? I get kind of lost in it, and and then when the whole internet thing happened, and I just saw this unbelievable amount of information. And then I saw a lot of non-dual teaching going out there, metaphysics, and the law of attraction, even not the non-dual, even the law of attraction, which I looked at and went, "Oh my God, this is this is more destructive than it is helpful." And there was just so much teaching in non-duality. It was just plain wrong. Some that was just off and and uh, and misguided. Some was just wrong. I realized that there was this absolute need. The thing that was missing most in this onslaught of basically Eastern uh, spirituality uh, entering into the West is that the West was completely unprepared to absorb it. It was completely unprepared. It had the completely wrong context. So it's going to hear a pure teaching, but misinterpret it because it had not been prepared to receive the teaching, right, in its true form. So it got distorted. It got bent out of shape. Yoga becomes nothing but physical exercise. Meditation becomes stress relief. Kundalini becomes this energy that I'm going to try to get. And all of those are a Western misinterpretation of of what is in fact pure truth. So my solution to that was to create this course called From Delusion to Awakening, to try to describe the entire process by which we discover who we are, and to lay down a practice, a sadhana, that takes you from the deluded state up to awakening, and then how to integrate all of that. The awakening isn't a ta-da, it's done, angels sing, heavens, off we go, right? It's not like that. There's an integration. There's coming to terms with the whole energy of the nervous system, the vasanas, all of that. So there's a post-awakening sadhana. Fortunately, they're the same one. The same process works in both regards. But there's uh, but you can see that it's an absolute necessity. And so I did that to make people realize that they are on the path. They're not making a mistake. That there is a way in which this unfolds, and it became a preparation of the heart and the mind to receive the genuine non-dual teaching in the context in which it could actually be received and take root and grow. It wouldn't be, as Christ had put it, throwing the good seed amongst the rocks and thorns. It's just going to get choked. So, Faith, frog it is. Thank you. I love you too, Faith. Melissa, hello, Melissa. A word on the fear of being alone. Maybe tools for healing the energetic side of this. Thank you. Well, it sounds like something I could do a tapping video on that level. But recognize, let's look at it. I'll do a tapping video on it as soon as I get my computer back and I can start working again. Monday evening I think I'll get it. So Tuesday I'll be back at work. Enjoying my off-grid time. So let's speak of the sense of being alone from the non-dual perspective, and the fear of being alone. The fear of being alone, if we look at it in its most primitive aspect, look at it purely physiologically, because there's that feeling in every mammal, right? Obviously not in reptiles and things like that, turtles and salamanders and frogs, they don't have that, right? But certainly mammals do, because there's an interdependency. We are dependent upon our parents. Every mammal is, for a certain period of time. None as long as human beings, but we are. So, that underneath that fear of being alone is a fear of being abandoned. Right? And under the fear of being abandoned is the fear of death. Because the reality is, if we are abandoned, if we are left alone as children, we die. And the whole energy system knows that. So it all comes down to that fear of death. Now, it's just a physiological fact. It has no extra overhead. It has no additional meaning on it. There's no interpretation. This is just what happens. Right? Now, when the point in our life comes when we identify with the body, when I begin to think, I am this body, the sense of separation, the sense of I am the body and everything is something else. As a baby, you are your mom. I mean, let's say when you're in the womb, you are your mother. You are an extension of the mother's body. You are the mother's body. Right? There is no separation whatsoever. You are just another organ in her body. At birth, that separation, there's a certain kind of separation that takes place. But there's a deep physical and emotional bonding that takes place. Because the mother's body is literally nourishing you. It's feeding you, and does for quite a while, until finally. And so in the child, like animals, there's no sense of a separate self. There's just the experience of I am, but that I am is undifferentiated consciousness. Things don't have names, they don't have forms, they don't have meaning, they don't have ideas, they don't have concepts. Everything just is. There is no mom and me. There's no me, there's just undifferentiated consciousness. But at some point in every human being, the sense of I am arises and identifies with the body. Now there's me and there's mom. We become two things. And of course mom's always doing that. Notice little kids, they don't say I, they say their name. They know their name and they recognize their name, but they don't have an I yet. When that happens, I am the body, two things happen. A sense of separation. And in that moment, two things are created. The fear of death and the fear of lack. They immediately arise. I am now dependent on this other. Now, it's an illusion. There is no real separation. Right? But we have to lose the sense of undifferentiated consciousness in order for it to expand into full awakening. That fear of being alone arises from that. That's where it comes from. Fear of rejection. As we get older, it's the fear of not having a mate, right? The fear of being left alone. I'm going to be old and lonely, and all that kind of stuff. So, simply when that feeling arises, the fear of being alone, you'll notice that the response mechanism, the conditioning, wants you to try to do something to not feel alone. It doesn't want to feel that feeling. Why? Because it's afraid of dying. Okay? But of course, merely feeling the fear of being alone, you can recognize now, as a spiritually mature individual, that it isn't going to kill me. I might not like it, but it is not going to kill me. The fear of being alone and the fearing of death are no longer conflated. You can see that. Now we need to take this conflation apart at the energetic level. And what that means is you don't do the things you normally do to try to avoid feeling being alone. whatever we distract. And instead, we turn directly towards that feeling and stay with it. You let yourself be with it. And as you do, it becomes less and less threatening. That feeling of being alone becomes disassociated with the fear of death and therefore begins to lose its intensity. When I do the tapping, that's all I'm doing. I'm doing the same thing, only I'm engaging the body through touch to assist in that process. But that's what is actually happening. And so, when we talk about the energetic side of it, as you mentioned, or the energy healing of it, it's simply dealing with it at the level of the nervous system, and not. I'm explaining what's happening, right, at this level. But notice all of this is very primitive. The fear of death, the fear of that manifests as the fear of alone, the fear of the separation that gives rise to that, are all happening not intellectually. They're happening energetically. It is the functioning of life itself. And what we are doing as consciousness is rising beyond the mere instinctual functioning of life. It's the Kundalini rising again, up to the point where we become self-aware, and then we don't deny the lower, we subsume them. The lesser is always subsumed into the higher. And so the instinctual gets brought into the realm of conscious awareness. And that's when we're just actively engaged in life. We are now life itself. I think I'll leave it at that. How's that, Melissa? Ged Feld. Hello, Ged. Have you tried the Headless Way? A little bit. I know of it a bit. I've had some email conversations with Richard. I can't remember Richard, who was Douglas. What's his last name? I always want to say Douglas Adams, but that was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Soul. Anyway, it's a very powerful, very useful technique. For sure, it is a great method for arriving at awakening. And he had Douglas. I can't remember his last name now. He had a full awakening, and it was recognizing it, and it was it's a beautiful way of just breaking down that. I still use. I think I even borrowed it from him. What do you look like from a distance of zero? I don't think he put it quite like that, but I do this idea that the self-image we hold, we've never actually seen ourselves. So, yeah, it's a great way. If you're drawn to it, yeah, practice it. Yeah. And like all techniques. It has it's a form of self-inquiry, is what it is. Once you understand the self-inquiry, you can move beyond it. I mean, replace it like it's something better, but you can basically work it yourself, right? You can explore it yourself, because it is a form of self-inquiry. It's breaking down our assumptions about ourselves, and that's what self-inquiry is. And self-inquiry is the highest spiritual practice. Jay, you feel like you were lacking in the yoga of allowing? How was that final breakthrough? The final breakthrough, I don't regard it as the final breakthrough. I'm not sure what that even is. Buddhahood, right? This is a bodhisattva. I consider myself at the bodhisattva, not a Buddha. At the bodhisattva, seeking enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. But also, bodhisattva simply means an awakened being. But there's still the bodhisattva practices. Let me see here. Yes, I wasn't allowing. No, I had assumptions about life. That there was that first off, I was supposed to get a lot. I mean, my first experience was with metaphysics, and the metaphysics that kind of came from that whole lineage at the turn of the 20th century. The focus was really on physical healing and the like, a lot like the law of attraction, only it had much more in terms of religious overtones in it. And so it was a sign. If you really understood, then your life should be going good, right? And I believe that, and that's what people taught. And so I took on myself. It was my problem, and so it was very much constantly beating myself up for my failings. My understanding wasn't big enough yet, right? So I was devoted to it. Hours a day I would spend in prayer, and I practiced metaphysical healing with people, and it's not that it's illegitimate, right? It's just that it ends up solidifying the sense of a separate self that is trying to attain the perfect understanding. And so even when I had left that and I started looking at other ways, started understanding conditioning and all that kind of stuff, and all the stuff that was making it impossible for me to do all that, there was still the sense that there was this ultimate truth that I would attain. And even though numerous times I had explosive experiences where all of that was gone, it kept reasserting itself. Until finally then, in the presence of that Zen master, when I finally saw through that illusion. And it continued to arise after that. It took some time for it to settle down. Matter of fact, it was probably a couple of years later when I realized that the wisdom that had appeared in that moment, even though there was a lot of upheaval around it, after the moment, the time of bliss, there was all this other stuff that came up. That essential wisdom never left. It was now the eyes through which I was seeing everything, and I was doing it and I didn't even realize it because the focus of attention was still elsewhere. It still had to be brought home, and and so with that came a great deal of humility, a great deal of insight. It led to the creation of inner reconciliation, a thing I call the yoga of law, all the various kinds of techniques and processes that I teach now, but they have at their root that that fundamental wisdom of no self, which is not contradictory to the idea of the self. They really are two different ways. That Buddha taught no self because to avoid the confusion, because when you say you are the self, the ego thinks, oh, I'm the self, right? And so he kind of put an end to that by saying no self. There's no self in persons. There's not a conscious, self-aware, self-existent entity there, any more than there is in objects and also in teachings. There's nothing self-existent there. Um, so I'll leave it at that with you, Jay. Francesco, thank you, brother. Very much helped. Big hug to you and everybody. You're very welcome. David Elaine, in light of what you've been saying, Meister Eckhart said, the eye with which I see God is the same with which God sees me. My eye and God's eye is one. It's one eye. Thank you again. Yes, so beautiful. It's what Balyani said, which I just reread this morning, when he said, no one sees him but himself. No one knows him but himself. No one reaches him but himself. No one, he knows himself through himself. He knows himself, he sees himself by means of himself. Only he knows him. All his messengers are him, all his prophets are him. He appears to him, through him, and as him. It is all. To the Sufi, like Rumi or Balyani, they would call that God. God's fine. God's fine. But it is the true self. And this is God's dream, not yours. You don't wake up. God is waking up from the dream that is you. Oh, thanks for that, David and Elaine. Yeah, Meister Eckhart, amazing. Yay, says Melissa. Anja, yes, it helps. Your words are like a warm rain. It melts the resistance. Oh, beautiful. David, you're a true professional, G, able to conduct satsang in any environment under any condition. Even the sound of a noisy furnace cannot drown out the truth. It was fine, by the way. You're welcome. Yeah, I've done it in cars. I've done it in park benches. I've done satsang absolutely everywhere, as well as in a nice place with a nice background, which I'm going to make again now. Thank you for satsang, wonderful. Thank you, Anja. Mary Sykes, I'd like to order that course, GP. I will do that when I come home from the meeting. I hope you'll get the discount. Thank you. I don't know, Mary. I don't know. You're really pushing me. Yeah, of course. We'll work it out. Melissa, yes, looking forward to more tapping. Appreciate you sharing. You're very welcome. Douglas Harding. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, David Lane. Douglas Harding, yeah. Wonderful. Love to listen to him talk. He's got that deep, proper English voice. And just creative, wonderful, wonderful speaker. Carl, thank you for your helpful explanation tonight. Best of luck with your move during your new space. Very well. Agree fully with David Lane. Thank you, G. Great satsang. Thank you all. Suzanne Lamonica, wrong to feel compassion for the wounded frog? Does this mean I lack pure unconditional acceptance? No, that's just not the meaning of that story. Of course, there was compassion with him. That was the compassion. What did Rama say? Why didn't you call out to me? Right? Of course, there was some compassion there, right? Of course. Right? But if the frog was just revealing this wisdom that don't automatically try to get out of your discomfort. There may be a blessing there. And it may just simply be the ego not liking I want to get out of discomfort. I mean, as I talked about those early years, I wanted out of that discomfort so badly, and I did everything I could to try to get out of it. And I did all the metaphysics, I did all the prayers, I did all the kind of the metaphysical version of affirmations, and I'd get up at 4 a.m. to just meditate and pray and pray over it. I was just, but that wasn't what I needed. Right? In the process of doing that, there was all sorts of stuff that was getting burnt up, right? To the point where I could actually come and truly have the kind of realization that allows me to conduct satsang. So yeah, even in the story, there's compassion for the frog, right? But the mission there was that Rama was unaware of the frog. And when he became aware, he said, why didn't you cry out? The moment it happened. He said, I always cry out in my distress. I cry out to you. But if you cause the distress, to whom do I cry out? And so there's just this humility there. And it allows us to truly cultivate that pure unconditional acceptance. Right? Which doesn't mean I just, whatever comes, it's okay. Because we have to own the fact that I don't really like this. But this is where you're not just rejecting it, and you're not just going, oh yes, whatever, I accept suffering in the name of the Lord. It's neither of those. It's an invitation to come into the middle way, to really root yourself in the place that is equally comfortable with both sides of that picture and finds the truth that is right in the middle of it. So, thank you, Susan. And on that note, I will end it. This is Neptune, everybody. Neptune has come to visit me. He comes and hangs out with me during the day and in the middle of the night. So, that's it for now. Thank you. Oh, thank you. That helps. Good. I'm so glad. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm lacking pure unconditional love. You can see how the mind wants to say, oh, you need to be more unconditional. You can see how our egos want to turn this around and use it as a way of slapping us. Thank you. Don't buy it. Just don't buy it. You're fine. Your heart is open. Your mind is open. You do have that unconditional acceptance. It's just being cultivated, and life itself is cultivating it. So thank you all. Love you all. Till next time. Namaste.